So our next speakers are two of my friends, and I'm really excited that they're here today. And it is a really big honor for me to introduce our next few folks. So I met Theresa when I was probably 15. I was doing a retreat, getting ready to make my confirmation. So my surprise as an adult to meet Theresa doing the organizing work that she does was amazing. So Theresa actually took me under her wing, her and Angela, that I think is also here, sat me down and talked to me about what a caucus was. I had no idea. But that's the kind of person that Theresa is. Theresa takes time to dive deep into our community to make sure that she can empower folks, and always reaches back and pulls other folks up with her. So it is an honor for me to introduce her today. And with her is Yesenia Beascochea. I had only ever said her last name in my head, so I was really nervous to say it out loud, because names are important and names have power. You know, my last name is important to me. Jaramillo, it belonged to my grandfather and it belonged to my dad, so I wanted to make sure that I was respectful of that. But now that it's over with, I feel a little less anxiety than I did before. So Yesenia worked from 2011 to 2016 with the Colorado Immigrant Rights Coalition, and did the important organizing work that was happening there. So I have worked alongside and have watched Yesenia work for many years, and it has been an honor to watch her do that work. So you will not find a more tenacious human being than Yesenia. So I am really honored to watch her do that. So right now she is working in the Avondale community in a program that was founded by the Colorado Trust. So I'm going to stop talking because they have more awesome things to say than I do. And I'm going to pass the mic over to these two ladies. Do you guys want to use the podium or you want to stand? Okay.
Mi nombre es Yesenia y nací en Durango, Mexico. My name is Yesenia and I was born in Durango, Mexico. I crossed the border as a child. I had many hopes and fears when I left my family and I came to the United States. My childhood dreams were very simple: to never again go hungry and to have the chance to attend school. As migrants, we traveled the Northwest following the crops and scraping by. For the most part, I wasn't hungry, but I also wasn't able to get the education I hoped for. Until I was 16, it was my job to care for my cousins while their parents picked strawberries, almonds, peaches, onions, and sweet potatoes. Later, I met my husband, Jose, who's somewhere out there. Baby, I love you! We spent, he was also a migrant worker, and he had been a legal resident since he was a baby. We spent our first years together working the onion fields before we moved to Colorado. He worked construction and I began raising our family. Years later, when my youngest son started school, I returned to my childhood dream of getting an education and started English classes, and my husband and I got our GED in 2012. Because my husband is documented, he was able to go on to earn a bachelor's degree at CSU Pueblo. I remember working late into the night helping him to study. And I remember the speech he gave in his graduation party. Sorry. He said, "This is our accomplishment because we had done it together." In the meantime, I began emerging from the shadows. I turned to organizing and found my voice in advocating for undocumented immigrants like me. I met Senator Angela Giron as she was working to pass the law in state tuition for undocumented students. I became the South Regional Organizer, and I helped get La Mar Unidos going, Grupo Esperanza in Colorado Springs, Grupo Azteca in Trinidad, and Grupo Maya here in our own Pueblo. I have spent over $25,000 and been working 19 years to become documented. I'm almost there. I'm almost finished. I understand my privilege as an immigrant who can get in line, and even if the line is very, very long and very, very expensive, I obtained my work permit 2 years ago. And if we can get over the shutdown of this government, I will have the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen. I've shared my story very few times, and it's been my pleasure and honor to share it here with you on this very important day.
I'm Theresa, the daughter of Florence and the granddaughter of Margaret and Epifania. I didn't cross a border, but a border crossed my family generations ago. We've always been from here. My grandfather worked the mines around Walsenburg. Another grandfather made his life here rather than be forced onto a reservation. We're woven into the very fabric of this land, like many of you are. My ancestors are Algonquin, Ute, Spanish, Mexican, Navajo. We don't speak Navajo. We barely speak Spanish. Like many of you, my family has survived decades of assimilation, but still we hang on to who we are. In my family, we talk about what we've lost, what we've gained, what we fought for. We talk about my parents' lives growing up. My mom was a proud union member. I'm glad to hear unions being spoken about so clearly here. We know that the financial gains that my family made, we owe to being part of a union. My dad was active in the Chicano rights movement. He taught me that I stand on the shoulders of giants. Many of those giants, I see you. I see you. Rita Martinez, Angela Giron, Helen Wiley, Carmen Arteaga, Denise Torres, Sandy Hansen, Deborah Espinosa, Dora Luz Cobian. Together, we are the hopes and dreams of our ancestors. I crossed the border crossed me. Those statements should bring us closer together, but too often, to be honest, our communities, Mexicanos and Chicanos and Latinos, we remain divided by border politics. We talk about it in whispers, the divisions which exist among us. Sure, we may find some comfort in the monolith of being Latino, Latina, Latinx. It helps us know we're not alone. But when our president emboldens many, many people with his words of hate and fear, the cracks start showing and we turn against each other. Even though we're taught not to talk about it, the divisions are there, the judgments remain.
We judge you for your mucho Spanish or not speaking Spanish at all.
And we judge you for not immigrating the right way. We don't take into account the politics of division.
And we play into the game of fear. We, you and me, have these hard conversations. We do the work in our own friendship as we organize together, cook together, and find the place where we are the same, where our values and experiences match up.
Our respect for elders.
Close interdependent families.
Tamales!
La chancla!
Sería.
And we have our other Central and South American primos to include. You can be from Honduras, Peru, Salvador, Cuba, and you all lumped in the same group, Mexicanos. We have so much work to do.
Part of our work is to acknowledge the fractures which exist in our community. When we talk about them, we begin to repair them. We can minimize them. We do that work. We do that work as feminists, as mujeristas. If we are divided, we cannot adequately address the serious issues in our community. I'm not just talking about huge, massive systems like the federal immigration system. I'm talking about systems right here in our own community where we can make a huge impact. Our schools. 2 of our schools are being taken over by the state. I see Pueblo Education Coalition represented here in the crowd. I see you in your t-shirts. And I know that those folks are working hard to make sure that our school board is responsive to the needs of the community and to ensure that we pick the right person. But maybe we should back up. Is it even constitutional that the state is taking over our schools and handing them over to a private management company? How do we as a community appeal to Phil Weiser, our new Attorney General, for his opinion on the constitutionality of that order from the state board? I hear we're losing our state board representative, Joyce Rankin. Who will replace her? And how will we be sure that our interests are protected and they're not in the hands of someone who promotes regularly charter schools? How many of us will read the report on the first phase of municipalizing our electric utility? Who will make the decision about moving to phase 2? I want us, our voices, the voices of this community to be a part of that decision. The foundation of getting to these and other issues at the local, state, and federal level is to repair our divisions and to get on with the work. We have a lot to do. There's a lot of work to do in this community, and there are a lot of hard conversations to have. These conversations sometimes they're made harder by the thin veil of anonymity that separates us from our neighbors.
We don't have the luxury of anonymous organizing that they have in big cities. We know our neighbors, and their kids play with our kids. They play soccer together. We see each other at the grocery store. We sit next to each other at church.
Yes, the work of resistance, the work of calling out injustice and creating systems that support our most vulnerable, it's hard work. But our advantage is that we can build on our relationships. That thin veil also gives us the gift of deep relationships. And our work is deeper because we know one another. We're connected to one another, sometimes for generations and generations. And who do we most often see in our community doing that hard work of understanding divisions, of erasing divisions?
Women, las mujeres. We recognize that there's a division among women of all races. And this march gives us an opportunity to bring us together and to close the division and to find common grounds.
Today, as comadres, we march for our families, our neighbors, for one another. We march for the causes we claim and the causes that claim us.
We march today against hate, fear, suspicion. We march as a community united and a community that's willing to work together and work through our differences.
We represent the powerful forces of change, us, right here, right now. We are collective agents of change. We are collective agents of history.
Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Hashtag no human is illegal. Hashtag water is life. Hashtag women's rights are human rights. Hashtag one love. We gather today on the indigenous land of our ancestors. We follow the lead of those who came before us despite massive genocide, who have persisted in the fight for land and water and culture. We live in the sure and certain hope and knowledge that we are making the way for all those who will come after us. This is ground zero for our struggle for justice, a women's march that represents hope and represents promise. We, Yesenia and I, dedicate ourselves to collective resistance, and we hope you're with us.
Yes.
Are you with us?
In a few days, the city's going to have a new executive branch of government, a mayor. And no matter who that mayor is,
Go Team Steve!
yes, we're Team Steve. Over the next months and years, we will be called upon to identify our demands for social justice, to defend our rights and the rights of others, and for this we need one another. Our city will only be successful if we all participate and if we all contribute.
We're going to build a muscle of civic engagement and exercise the muscle of women as our community. We are the nation's moral compass. If you want to know if you're going in the right direction, follow politicized sisters of color.
Sisters, hermanitas, comadres, friends, and neighbors. We are the leaders we've been waiting for. We are what democracy looks like. We are the hope for this community. Let's keep our voices loud, keep our feet on the streets, and keep our heads held high.
Mujeres, united!
We'll never be divided!
Mujeres, united!
We'll never be divided!
Mujeres, united!
We'll never be divided!
Woo, thank you.
Y'all, when I tell you that I stand on the shoulders of giants. Those are two ladies who have lifted me up. So again, like a privilege of my lifetime to be able to introduce them. Let's give them a round of applause, please.